for being back. This is Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our conversation for this morning. Momentum is building among Nigeria's opposition parties as key political figures strategize to challenge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the ruling All Progressive Congress APC in the 2027 election. On Thursday, People's Democratic Party (PDP) governors, Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Gregory Obi, and the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) intensified coalition talks to unify the opposition. Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed confirmed the discussions after a closed-door meeting with Obi, expressing readiness to work together for purposeful leadership. This comes on the heels of former Kaduna Governor Nasir El-Rufai defection to the Social Democratic Party SDP, where he pledged to mobilize opposition figures against Tinubu's re-election. El-Rufai, in an interview, claimed he had former President Muhammadu Buhari's approval to leave the APC and alleged that ministerial appointments in Tinubu's administration were bought. However, Buhari reaffirmed his loyalty to the APC, distancing himself from El-Rufai's political maneuvers. NNPP spokesperson Ladipo Johnson also confirmed ongoing talks with various opposition groups, hinting at a broader coalition aimed at ending what they described as mismanagement under the current administration. With growing discontent and political realignment, the stage is set for a highly contested 2027 election. I still have with me Olajumoke Alawode. James, thank you so very much for hanging on. We truly do appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. So let's get into the matter proper. It's becoming very interesting. One would think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not have it this stiff, but it is brewing day after day since ex-governor El-Rufai decamped from the APC to the SDP. He is being angry about what he has seen with the APC. Let me start from there. What do you think about the jumping of ship by El-Rufai first, just before we get into other interesting matters?
The jumping of ship has become very popular with Nigerian politicians. All of us know that it's not about ideologies for them, it's about platforms. So our political parties really do not have any ideologies that are different one from the other. It is, if they do not give me ticket here, I jump to the next party. If I'm not compensated after working for this party, or we lose the election in this party, I jump to the next party. And there's so many politicians of recent jumping ship one from the other. I mean, Valentine Ozibo from the Labour Party, who wants to contest for Anambra's gubernatorial elections, jump into the APC and having to lock comments on all the social media platforms. It's a typical example. El-Rufai from the PDP, where he was minister of the FCT, and then joining rivalries. They had, before they became NNPP, I think they were NNPP, and then they became APC, you know, when they aligned with new PDP and AACN to become APC in 2014. His excuses are not excusing enough for me, right? Like I mentioned, it's just about jumping ship. He was thoroughly embarrassed by the Tinubu regime. He had gone to Chatham House during the elections, answering questions of military like he was going to be minister of something. And then he was sent to the National Assembly for what is that thing that they do at National Assembly
for ministerial, whatever.
But for them to become ministers.
Yes.
They said he had questions to ask, so he left, and then President Tinubu sent him back there. I mean, and the second time he was thoroughly embarrassed again. people are asking questions about the genocide and the massacres in southern Kaduna under his 8-year rule, and that is now jumping ship to another political party. I'm one to say that party issues, let the politicians go and be discussing it, and let us, the citizens, focus on governance, right? Let them be politicking and doing all the machinations in their political parties, but when they come out, let's hold them to high standards, So if you do not have an ideology and you're jumping from one ship to the other, that's your business. When you come out, we will probe you properly. What's your antecedent? What have you done? Who are you? Where are you coming from? How do you want to? We don't care which region you are coming from, or which region your party is now saying that it must be the power. That's not our business. Our business is good governance, and that's all we care about. And because of that, I really don't care which party El-Rufai goes to right now. I don't think that he's made himself somebody to watch out for. What's his nuisance value in the political sphere right now? Not much.
Very, very true. There's no gainsaying absolutely that he has a very awful resume. But knowing that the current administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is equally not as great as Nigerians would have expected it, do you think it's good for us to maybe just embrace him for the meantime, knowing that the fact truly do remain, that we need a change of good governance in Nigeria? Do you think we should just manage Tinubu maybe until something else comes up? What do you think is the best bet with the coalition?
I'll answer quickly with 2 examples.
Yes.
When we were saying President Jonathan was clueless, right? I didn't think that President Buhari was the option. So if you have a bad situation, don't go to worse, right? Secondly, I think that we've seen political parties, and particularly using the example of President Buhari again, 2014, his coalition of NNPP, ACN, and new PDP members that formed the APC, they had so many things to accuse the Jonathan government of. Like, they had solutions. They came into power in 2015 and they started giving us excuses. Typical example. The budget for feeding the presidency in 2014 in 2015, was 1 billion naira. And we were saying, do you kill a cow every day in the presidency? And they were talking about, it's for foreign, government visiting, blah, blah, blah. They have visitors. And I thought, that's not a good excuse. Buhari promised a zero, they call it zero something budgeting, where you start from scratch, rather than putting inflation or a percentage on the former budget. So it was supposed to be zero budgeting, you start from scratch. But in 2016, his own budget was now to feed presidency for 1.2 billion, meaning they didn't start from scratch. They just put a margin on 2015's budget. So they did worse than they accused President Jonathan of. So when you see any coalition area of people who just want to come together to seize power, they are no longer as excited as some Nigerians were in 2014, 2015, thinking that Buhari was the messiah to save Nigeria from terrorism, from corruption. They said, he has integrity. Corruption was worse under him, as we've seen. So if there's any coalition just coming to seize power, and they are strange bedfellows, one, or they do not even have good resumes, like as you use the phrase. We don't want you to come and just wrestle power from President Tinubu because he's bad, right? We don't think you are going to be better than him. Don't come and wrestle power from him and then throw us into what we experienced under President Buhari in 8 years. Prior to President Buhari's regime, I can call the prices. Right, a bag of rice was 8,000 naira. Fuel under President Jonathan was 88 naira, 87 naira. We went from 97 to 87. Foreign exchange was 197 naira. See how we went from officially it was about 245 naira in the black market, because I remember President Buhari's campaign, Buhari Oshibajo, is 245 naira to the dollar good. He came into government and the dollar went to 800 naira. So you think that you have a messiah right now in El Rufai and his strange bedfellows coming together in any political party to say they want to rescue Nigeria from President Tinubu. So we say no. We have seen it before. We're not impressed. We're not excited, because you were in bed with the APC until they did not give you an appointment. Will El-Rufai be saying the things that he's saying today, or moving to another political party, if you were given minister of anything under President Tinubu? Let's ask ourselves that question. Governor Wike was governor in Rivers State for 8 years. At the time, because he seemed to be a very strong opposition leader, we were rooting for him. Look at how dictatorial he is. A tyrant as a minister right now in Abuja, holding down what is happening still in his Rivers State, because he was the one who put the present governor of Para in power. So I'm asking again, we have seen it happen before. We're not fooled by politicians forming coalitions to say that, oh, President Tinubu's government is bad, it's worse than Buhari, let's come and rescue Nigeria. And then we follow them blindly. They get into power and they will be begging for President Tinubu to come back. The way we're begging President Jonathan to come back in Buhari's 8 years. No. We're not fooled, we're not deceived there.
So do you really think that we should manage Tinubu? Is that what you are saying? Or should we should we give an opportunity? Because there are other countries today that were worst off. A very classical example is El Salvador. It was one country that was deep-rooted in crime, in insurgency, but one man came in, Bateke. He came in and turned around El Salvador. Today, El Salvador is one of the most peaceful countries in that region of the world. So don't you think we might equally have a situation like that man come into Nigeria and maybe have a change?
Henry, maybe my first example did not buttress what I wanted to say well enough, right? My first example was that we thought that President Johnson was clueless and that President Buhari was the messiah that Nigeria needed. I didn't think that in 2014, 2015. I voted Professor Remi Shonaya, a woman. Why? Because she's a professor. You don't have to have all the knowledge. You just have to know enough to hire the right hands, hire the right ministers, promote the right military men to defend your country and all of that. So if President Tinubu is bad, we do not have to manage him. I didn't think that President Tinubu was also the messiah that Nigeria needed. One, he's old. Exactly like President Buhari. Right after he got into power in 2015, he said, oh, I think age will hinder me. Did you not know your age when you were applying to become president? We had Peter Obi run against President Tinubu and he got 6 million votes in the midst of all the allegations of election rigging and shutting down of the server and all of that. So if your current president is not doing well, are we saying that there are not enough Nigerians like a Peter Obi who can rescue Nigeria? People who are competent enough to do the work, who are young enough, who are capable, who have shown, from being governor for 8 years that I can save money rather than buy private jets and buy yachts and all these extravagant expenses. I can save money. Peter Obi's Anambra State was not making more money than his predecessors. He was just saving more. To the extent that he saved enough money for his successor to even build an airport in that Anambra State. So it's not to go from frying pan to fire. There are more options in Nigeria. It's for we, the people, to stand behind them. Demand our electoral reforms. If it is machines that we want to use, then we say that if the machine does not work, then there's no manual counting that will allow for rigging. and then demand that whichever parties that are coming, they bring credible candidates. Don't just bring people that you think can win election because of our difficult electoral terrain. A lot of their coalitions, they'll be thinking, oh, there's nobody who's going to be president if the North does not vote. Oh, you need 2/3 of votes in South, Southeast, Southwest. All of those and machinations, they will bring the worst of us that they think will be accepted, across the country, not the best of us who is actually competent to lead Nigeria from the quagmire that Nigeria is in. We, the people, are the ones who are supposed to demand that. Allow the El-Rufais and all of the politicians to go and be doing their machinations, but we must demand that it is somebody who is capable and who is in good health, who is young enough, who has the right mental capacity to lead Nigeria forward, that we're going to be looking out for in the next elections. Don't go from bad to worse. Let's manage bad. No.
Yes, very, very, very true, because El-Rufai had often said that he is really not interested in vying for the election. Some pundits have said that he is rather a spoiler who is ready to upset and disrupt, lots of things here, just like Shaibu did to Obaseki, and vowed that PDP will not come back, and it happened in Edo State. So is it okay for us to permit an El-Rufai who is a spoiler, who understands the way the Northerners think, the way they imagine, and what they can do to upset all of these things? Is it okay for us to at least permit him to do the spoiling, and maybe we get the most rightful person to take over, just like you have made example with Peter Obi?
Okay, so there are allegations that the spoiler that he's being is being President Tinubu's tool, because President Tinubu ran for Senate in 1993 under the same SDP that El-Rufai has now run to. You also know that in the same SDP, in the last 24 hours, ex-Abacha aide Hamza Al-Mustafa, who was the leader of Abacha's killer gang, also joined the party. So you have to look at the people in that party. Secondly, there were people who accused Peter Obi of being a spoiler for Vice President Atiku. And if Peter Obi has stayed with Atiku, combined their two wings, 6 million, they would have had 12 million combined. I don't think that would have happened, because he ran alongside Atiku in 2019 against President Buhari, and we saw the results. So people who wanted Peter Obi wanted him because Peter Obi is younger and he has a good track record. Atiku didn't win. Atiku and Obi did not win Lagos in 2019, but Obi by himself won Lagos in 2023. So the controversies and conspiracies against El-Rufai being a spoiler may be true. The more heavyweight politicians you have running for presidency, the more spoilers you have, to put it like that. But also, look at Kwankwaso. He became president of Kano State. What kind of spoiler was he? So if you call El-Rufai a spoiler, he's going to take away some votes from Kaduna, from the others who are going to be running from president. That's one thing that I think that he will do. But that El-Rufai would, really spoil anything for any presidential candidates, not really. Look at the SDP and the people running there.
Yes, very true. But speak to us. Yes, but speak to us on the allegation that most of the ministers who are currently serving with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually bribed their way to the ministerial positions that they have. Is he just being jealous, or is he speaking to facts?
El-Rufai should know. He knows where the body bags are, right? So we will allow the ministers that he has accused to defend themselves as a mass. When they say when two elephants are fighting, the grass will suffer. We are just looking on. Let us not suffer. You people be fighting yourselves. The masses will be okay. But they will say that there's no smoke without fire. Again, like I mentioned earlier, there's been really nothing to be proud of or excited about the President Tinubu regime. So if within months of appointing ministers, one of them was accused, of fraud, and that's talking about better edu, and all sorts of things like his children, Sheyi Folashade, going on official tours, Sheyi giving out food like he was appointed by somebody. Just being the child of president is an office of its own. I will not take it away, that what El-Rufai mentioned is facts. But until it is proven to be true, we will not sit on the sidelines and accuse anyone based on speculations or rumors. Let them go and defend themselves. Let the onus of proof is also on the accuser. Let El-Rufai, if he's saying the truth, let him bring out the proof, the evidence of what he's saying. We want to believe him.
Very, very true.
But until then, let us not be caught in defamation
and cyber stalking.
Fighting that El-Rufai said.
Very, very true. But just before I let you leave, please, I'd love to ask, in all of these things we're talking about, the opposition hoping to dislodge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and all the threats they are bringing on, all of this would not work if we do not have electoral reforms. With Professor Mahmoud Yakubu still on the throne. Of course, I learned he would have to leave this year. I don't know how true that is. But of course, speak to electoral reforms, because in all of this we are talking about, it still remains the same. They will do what they know how to do best. February 25th, 2023 is a classical case of what happened.
Yeah.
Every Nigerian knew what happened, and of course it's very clear that same might repeat itself for 2027. So how do we all get it right? Okay,
it's difficult all over the world to unseat a sitting president, right? Democracy is popular globally, and you will find that it's very difficult to unseat a sitting president. It is way more difficult in Nigeria, where we have that monarchical system, where it is the president that appoints the INEC chairman. Our system, our institutions have not grown enough, to be more powerful than the president. The center, there's a lot of power, in the center. So unless and until the electoral body becomes truly independent, you saw how CBN that was supposed to be independent became an arm of government, and CBN governor was even trying to run for presidency. Our institutions, because of nepotism and our patriarchal, monarchical system, have not grown to the level of, Jumoke comes in and she doesn't care who president is and just does her work. Look at how Mahmoud announced President Tinubu in the middle of the night, like they were stealing something, So if we do not have electoral reforms, if we do not have an INEC chair that is truly independent, truly independent, who doesn't care where the president is from, and they are going to, if I return President Tinubu as president, my family is good for life. We're very religious here, but we're not righteous. Because if we're righteous, you think about the afterlife, that even if they give you all the material wealth in this world, is that what really children? All your children can be in an accident and die in one day, and you'll be, distraught for life. But we don't think about legacies here. The Yorubas used to say, remember the family that you're from. We no longer have shame, family honor, integrity around here. We've become so materialistic, and fearful. We no longer have, people like former NAFDAC chair, who with bullets going through her gilly day and night, stood at her ground that she was going to fight big drugs to the last in Nigeria. But electoral reforms that allow you vote wherever you are across the country, and the result is posted immediately onto the server, that also wherever you are in the world, you can start to see the results simultaneously, unless and until we have that. We'll be wasting our time in 2025 going to the we're just going to return President Tinubu. Typical example was 2019 elections. President Buhari was no longer popular. We knew he was not the Messiah. We had seen him from 2015 to 2019, and it was a disastrous 4 years. But he came back in 2019 where the people voted him, because it's difficult to unseat a sitting president who wants to come back in Nigeria. So electoral reforms where our electronic voting is allowed, maybe where we even have independent candidates that do not have to go to these political platforms and be coaliting, having coalitions with straight bedfellows, is what to save Nigeria. But it has to be people-led. The politicians are not going to give it to us. It's to their benefits that the country is like this and our politics is the way it is. It's we, the people, that must demand it and push for it till we get it.
Very, very true. One would wonder if some of our politicians in Nigeria would ever have the mindset of Nelson Mandela, who of course sacrificed for his people for 20-something years in prison. And when he was given the opportunity to lead the country, he said just 4 years is okay for him. And right after that 4 years, he stepped down and he didn't care any longer. For him, 4 years was more than enough for him to lead the country, and he did that so awesomely well. But in our country, I love to believe if they give them the opportunity, they would love to run for 16 years. For one time.
We're used to monarchy. We're used to monarchy. They want to stay there and die on the throne.
So bad, actually, if you ask me. Well, that's just about the time we have. We pray for Nigeria, and we hope that the country, would have leaders truly that understand the importance of leadership. One man, Lee Kuan Yew, made it possible for Singapore. He took over Singapore from a third world country, a rejected country. Malaysia literally rejected Singapore, but Lee Kuan Yew took Singapore from the fourth world country they were to a first world country. And I just sincerely hope that we can have a repeat of that if truly we want Nigeria to be a great nation. Thank you so very much, Olajumoke Alaude James. We truly do appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It was an exciting one, having to have you today. So that's just the time we have, people. Love to say thank you to you. You made the picture complete. We'll say thank you once more. But do well to visit us. You can always find and reach us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I'm Henry Gwibike. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.